Take two. Well, hello. Welcome to MS Meads. I'm known as Samuel, and thanks for coming on board on our maiden voyage. Today, we're going to be revisiting one of the original meads I had played with from the very beginning. It was a ginger pineapple pear. It was an accident from a gingerbread experience. It actually came out very well. But as time goes on, you learn how to formulate, upgrade what you know, and this is going to be one of those. We're not just doing pineapple chunks, ginger chunks, pear chunks, water, honey. We're adding in juices. Almost over a gallon of pineapple juice, half a gallon of pear juice, and quite a bit of ginger. This time around, we're going for a savourier taste. We're going to be adding the fruit in after the original fermentation so we can get more. And then somewhere down the line, there's going to be some oaking. So let's stop talking and get to work. A quick visual of some of the products today that are going to be used to make our mead. Followed up with the base of all fermentation process, sanitation, better known as star sand, which will be coming in contact with everything that will be coming in contact with our muss. Every utensil will be sanitized. Starting off with 3.2 gallons of purified water, and after that, taking a quarter teaspoon of Go Firm, place it into our mixing jar, shortly following up with a full package of Premier Classique yeast, which I find is pretty good when you're dealing with ginger, because ginger could be a little antagonistic. A full package of Premier Classique yeast will be added because today's batch will be a full 5 gallons plus. A little stirring is needed after adding hydration products to your yeast because they do not know how to break up and absorb moisture on their own. Utilizing a 6.5 gallon fermenter, which was sanitized with star sand and then replaced with a gallon of water, followed with our first 5 pounds of honey. And during this process of watching me pour and stir, I'll give you some honey trivia information. Honey has excellent health benefits, but the USDA has categorized honey into 7 different levels. These categories are water white, extra white, white, extra light amber, amber, dark amber. In order to get these different styles of honeys, beekeepers will set up their beehives in certain areas or utilize mobile platforms, creating the style of honey that we want. Plants that have darker pollen and nectar and different minerals in higher amounts have a tendency to play also towards the darker honey. Honey that has been left longer in a beehive, which you will find in wild environments, also have a tendency to be darker. And even though all honey is antimicrobial and filled with antioxidants, darker honey has been placed with more. Example, regular honey and content-wise have about 0.04% of the mineral content, wherein darker honey has been recorded to have 0.20 of the same. Minerals that are found in honey comes from the environment and soil, and then into the plants that the bees pollinate. Trace minerals are important to human health and are needed to everyday body functions. Antioxidants are important to your health because they help your body fight free radicals. That makes a great slogan. Drink more mead. Next up is the liquid pineapple juice. We're using Dole's pineapple, which comes to find out is just juice, no other additives. Off the vine, heat shrink in a can, airtight, fantastic. We're going to be using 4 48 ounces cans, which is a total of 1.5 gallons. Now comes the organic pear juice, government certified. We're going to be using 2 32-ounce jars, which is basically 1/2 gallon. You've seen this step a few times before. Stirring is air. The more you stir in the beginning, the more oxygen you must get. And by the way, this paddle has the name of the Board of Education. And for all those who've been in Catholic school, you know what that's about. And rinse and sanitize. And with that out of the way, it's time for the yeast nutrients. We're going to be using 5 grams of ferment O today. That's an organic-based nutrient for yeast. Followed up with 2 pounds of a frozen Perry ginger solution, of water and Perry in a blender. I find that going this way, you really get all of the taste that ginger has to give you. Now that I'm satisfied that there's no ginger left behind and every morsel will do their job, it's time to add the rest of the water, which is approximately about 2 gallons. And now for the leftover honey that's still clinging to the inside of the jugs. Put some water in, shake to your heart content, get it all off, aerate that mess so that it is full of oxygen so that the yeast has a lot to work with. And then do the same on the next jar, rinse and repeat. It's time for some trivia. This particular style of mead, where you add fruit juice or fruit to it, is considered to be a melomel. And the oldest recorded evidence of a fermentation beverage combining honey and fruit along with rice was found in the pottery jars in northern China dating to roughly 7000 BCE. Now back to our local station. With the Board of Education back, introducing oxygen into the brew and breaking up some of that frozen elements. This is very vital because oxygen helps your product do what it's supposed to do. I once watched an experiment where all the products for mead was dumped into a batch and nothing was stirred together. And over a course of a couple of weeks, we watched the honey get dissolved down and it made alcohol. Technically, you do not have to break this down to do what it needs to do, but Incorporating oxygen at this point of reduction takes the stress off of your yeast, which could produce off flavors down the road. And now that all the liquid-based ingredients have been added, it's time for the biggest support player to be introduced, the yeast, which has been proven. Which leads us to capping and a forearm workout. And with that behind us, off to the secret room of fermentation and aging. After that, location has been secured. And again, more forearm workout. And believe it or not, it gets a nightshirt. Yeah, I know, it's parental. And with that said, it comes down now to your choice of airlock solution. Me personally, I choose a spirit because fruit flies will die. But your choice between a star sand or a spirit is yours. This is another moment of trivial information. Did you know that the enzymes in a fruit fly's stomach can actually change your mead into vinegar? Consider that. And now for the second part of the show, a little bath in star sand to make sure there's no wild fermentation happening. Some people don't mind. Some people say that it can interfere with your yeast. Better safe than sorry. And with that behind us, comes down to the slicing up of the product. I'm not going to be chopping these pieces of fruit into very small pieces because they're going to go into the freezer, and the freezer is going to break up the cellular wall during the defrosting process. What you may also notice is that I'm leaving the skins on the pears and the pineapples that are coming up. The reason why, the tannins. Plus, I've heard that this creates a little bit more earthy taste to the product. I'm willing to find out exactly what that means. Envy my nice skills. With that behind us, into the freezer for at least a week. And now, exactly 1 week later, it has burned through quite a bit of gravity, and we're at 0.002. And I'm adding in the frozen fruit. You see, I have it in a bag to help to keep it all together with a couple weights in that so it doesn't float up and block the airlock. You notice I'm gently placing it in there to keep the air exposure down to a minimum. With that behind us, in goes all that lovely juice that's going to create all that flavor. I want to say thank you for hanging out with me, and I'm looking forward to our very next time around. Again, this is MS Mead. I'm Samuel. Have a great day, guys.